Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's What's Up Wednesday, where we are going live with you on Facebook and LinkedIn every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time to talk about our upcoming 22nd Annual International Human Trafficking and Social Justice Conference happening later this year on September 17th through the 19th. We are just about 2 months away from the conference. It's crazy how fast July is already going, but we are looking forward to it, preparing for it. So thank you for joining us today. My name is Anna Schramm, and I am the conference planner working at the Human Trafficking and Social Justice Institute at the University of Toledo. And today I have two special guests with me. So we have Brittany Dunn, who is the co-founder and COO of Safe House Project, and Alia Azariah, pronounce that correctly, I got it. Alia Azariah, who is the director of aftercare at Safe House Project. So Brittany and Alia, thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time to be with us.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, so today we are going to be focusing on our programming related presentations at the conference. So last week for our first What's Up Wednesday, I focused on and talked a lot about how we are a very diverse conference. We have a lot of different topics and presentations that you can attend. So one of those topics you can learn about is programming in the anti-human trafficking and social justice field. So we're going to get into that a little bit later, but first, Brittany and Alia, can you please introduce yourself, tell our listeners a little bit more about who you are and the work that you do at Safe House Project.
Go for it, Alia.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm Alia. I'm the director of aftercare for Safe House Project. So I always describe my job as like we have our survivor support team that serves all of our survivors that we work with. And then myself, as director of aftercare, I get to serve those who serve survivors. So my job is to come alongside our service providers and equip them with the new tools that are coming out to serve survivors, with the conversations that are happening around the field, with what are people finding to be the most effective tools for the different demographics of survivors that we work with. How do we get to best practice? How do we open more aftercare solutions for survivors? And how do we just keep people in this work for the long term and keep organizations running and improving? And so that's a lot of what we do in my vein is things that we call for the field, by the field. And so we spend a lot of time learning what are the people who are boots on the ground needing, where are they lacking, what are they looking for solutions for, and who's out there doing that, and then bringing those solutions to those who need it. And then the other part of what we do that really drives the core of our organization and influences any other initiative that we are going to do is that survivor support. So we have a team of, they're my favorite people on our team, incredible survivor support specialists that work with survivors every day. I think right now we're serving over 200 unique survivors every month who are looking to enter into some kind of restorative care solution, and they walk alongside them wherever they're at in that journey to get them to the place that's not just like the next solution or the open bed or whatever, but the place that's going to be the best solution for what their goals are for themselves long term, and that's going to help equip them to achieve that. And we help them travel. We stay on the phone as they go through TSA if it's in another state. We help them learn how to check a bag. We do all of those things. And yeah, it's the core of what we do. And any other initiative that comes out of Safe House Project is informed by what did the survivors that we serve need? What barriers did they encounter during either their time in program or their time accessing a solution that would meet their needs. And so I'm grateful to be able to be a part of that. I'm also a survivor, throw that in at the caveat. And so, yeah, it's incredible work. And I love getting to that. My job is like so collaborative with the field and getting to know so many people that are out there doing incredible work. It's really exciting and encouraging to be able to support the work that they're doing.
That's amazing. Wow. That's so cool. I love the aftercare is such an important aspect of programming too. And sounds like you really do walk along with survivors and what they need and meet them where they're at. So yeah, that's amazing. Well, Brittany, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
So Brittany Dunn, one of the co-founders of Safe House Project, and I have the privilege of leading a team of leaders who really invest in the field across the country every single day. So as Alia mentioned, we have our survivor support team who assists probably close to 3,000 survivors this year as they exit exploitation and get themselves into safe housing or other residential services that can help decrease their rates of re-victimization and just set them up on a path to long-term success. So that is absolutely the joy behind all of the work we get to do. But I am also just so blown away every day by our team that works on training and education and making sure that we're deploying those resources out to communities on how to identify survivors, increasing it above that current 1%. So that group has trained over 400,000 people to identify and report suspected trafficking. And then our Safe House certification team is really a core foundational piece to making sure that safe houses are evaluated based on evidence-based and promising practices, so that as survivors enter into programs, they can go in there knowing that there is accountability and oversight, and that the things that they believe they're going to receive actually transpire. And so love to see the way that certification has helped really elevate the quality of care and come along programs to help also them inform their long-term roadmaps for success and growth. And so all of those are just amazing. And then we get to do some work on the policy side at the state and federal level. And so at the end of the day, our heartbeat is just to collaborate with all of the incredible organizations in the field at every level to strengthen our collective impact towards the protection of survivors, prosecution of traffickers and buyers, and then the prevention of trafficking.
Thank you. Wow, you do great work and a lot of work at Safe House Project. And you touched on this a little bit with the different programming that is involved in Safe House Project. But in general, can you talk a little bit more about the importance of effective and evidence-based programming in the anti-human trafficking and social justice fields? Whoever would like to go first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I apologize, it's summertime and I had a small child who decided that this was the perfect moment to need things.
Always when things are happening.
No, I mean, evidence-based programming, and it's so hard, right? Like this is a 25-year-old field. And so there's a lot of things we've had to draw on other complementary industries to evaluate to make sure that we can offer and say that it's evidence-based. But I think what's really encouraging is that I've seen, especially over the past 5 years, a greater set of just data sets coming out, a greater number of universities that are investing their time and their researchers and expertise into evaluating what are the practices that can really help inform effective programming and what's happening in care. And I think that's allowed us to be more intentional with our interventions. And so I think as the data continues to grow, as we ethically collect data from survivors in care and understand more deeply what it is that their vulnerabilities that allowed for the exploitation to happen in the first place, or what types of interventions are more successful for different types of victimology. Like all of these things layering together allow for us to move towards meeting more of the individualized needs of survivors and not applying a one-size-fits-all approach, which is a little bit where things started, 2 decades ago, is that the response is uniform. And we know that doesn't work. And so now there are so many incredible experts that are lending their time and their talent and their expertise, bringing those findings to the surface. And so really that's what I think allows us to drive forward collectively a better impact.
Yeah. Alia, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would add a couple of things. One being that healing from exploitation is a partnership with the survivor and with the service provider. And we can't do the survivor's part of that, of showing up, of doing the work, of digging into those things that need healing. Our part as service providers is to bring the best shot, to bring the best solutions to them. And if we are not investing in figuring out what that is, implementing those things that have proven success or that survivors have reported to be really helpful, then we're not doing our side. And it's really unfair to the survivors if they show up willing to do their side of the healing work and we haven't done our side of bringing them the best options that are available to them to walk that path. And I think just like from the lived experience side of it in my own mindset is like it was really hard for those of us who exited at a point where we didn't have access because maybe they were still in development or there wasn't a lot of conversations around sharing resources and figuring out what survivors needed. It was a really hard road to walk to try and figure those things out for ourselves. And a lot of us have done that, and we've brought those solutions to the field or partnered with allies to bring those solutions to the field. And so we can broaden the amount of survivors that are able to access new life and healing and new experiences, and they can have those experiences and those new ways of living at a faster pace than a lot of us had to experience, because there is, people have been collecting data and they've been, doing their own internal reviews of what's been helpful for the people that they've worked with. And that's what's allowed more people to exit exploitation and have a life that is worth living outside of exploitation.
Yeah, those are also important points. And I think both of you touched on, how much programming in this field has changed over the last couple decades, as it's relatively new field that people are researching or putting money towards, and the progress that has been made. And I like, Alia, what you said about giving them the best shot, giving them the opportunity. And then that goes into what you said, Brittany, is it's not a one size fits all. So let's bring you resources and provide you options and figure out together what is going to give you the best shot to live a successful life. And so I love that. I think that y'all are doing great work and really summarize the importance of programming. So getting back a little bit to our conference, both of you have been involved in our conference in some capacity, either as a presenter or attendee over the last several years. So just want to hear a little bit more about your experience with the conference and maybe why you keep coming back.
Absolutely. No, it's been great. It's a diverse group of thought leaders from around the country. It just harnesses kind of both sides of, those who are maybe in the field doing the work with those at the universities who are doing the research, and it blends just so many people from different perspectives. And I think it allows for just really active discussion and just constructive discourse. And I think that anytime we have the opportunity to get in there and wrestle around complex topics or around, emerging modalities or emerging trends, it's a little bit of that iron sharpens iron, and we can get to a more perfected version of solutions when we are actively engaging. And I think this is a fantastic way to do that and hear from other experts what's happening in the field from their perspective, and make sure that we're considering the whole when we build and define and evolve as a field.
Yeah, I would add that I really appreciate the conference is virtual. As much as I love being on the ground and having the conversations that you can really only have in person, we can't be at every conference, right? We can't be at every place that people are going to be presenting on these. And I think the uniqueness about this specific conference and being virtual and having such a breadth of people who are able to apply and able to be presenters has been really valuable to me in previous years, because I've been able to learn and see things that I just wouldn't have had access to unless I was at every trafficking or social justice related conference around the country, which could be my full-time job if I was trying to do that, right? And so I'm really excited about the diversity of thought that's going to be there, like Brittany said, and the access to that many experts in one place in one session. I'm already trying to color code the different sessions that I'd like to show up at, and how am I going to do that? And but it's much more accessible for me to be able to do that from my computer at home during my workday than me having to travel to access those sessions.
Well, I'm so glad that both of you said those. I mean, that makes, my heart happy, my job easier. But Alia, I think touching on the virtual aspect, it's been really hard, especially as we've transitioned over the past several years to living in a post-COVID world and people are doing more things in person and sometimes getting a little bit of pushback of why not being back in person. And you did mention there is so much value and importance in those in-person conversations and learning and networking, and it does provide a specific need, but virtual does as well. And I think what we've seen with our conference since COVID is the diversity and is the exponential expansion that we've had of attendees, especially survivors and international attendees, from people who don't have the finances to travel to attend an in-person conference, or even having to, I remember when the conference was in person years ago, our international attendees would take like 48 plus hours to get to the actual conference. And now that they can still, do things that they need to do in their life, still go to their job, and then just open up their computer and hear from people all over the world. So I'm glad that both of you have found value in that. I certainly have, and I love that you keep coming back and also sharing your expertise. So both of you are presenting at this year's conference. Your session is actually more focused on like law enforcement and direct service, but I know you both do so much in the programming space. So that's why I had you come talk about that. But your session is titled Breaking Through the Wall of Silence, How AI is Revolutionizing the Fight Against Human Trafficking. So would love for you to just give our listeners like a little sneak peek about what you're going to be talking about in your session.
Yeah, of course. So I think that this is a really exciting time, obviously, to be talking about AI. And we are not ignorant by any means to the ways that traffickers and predators are weaponizing AI and technology, obviously, to exploit people and to really create a lot of harm. But the opportunity here is that we have to innovate as a field. We have to utilize those same tools in order for us to strengthen our collective response. And so what we're really going to be diving into is how ethical use of AI and trauma-informed practices with AI and involving survivors and service providers and allies from both the inception and from the beginning of the process through inception is just critical to developing solutions that actually can allow for us to gain a lot of ground quickly. And so our goal is to really highlight some of the ways that we are using it to make it easier for survivors, law enforcement, service providers, policymakers, and community members to engage and to really scale solutions effectively, to see more survivors served, to see greater outcomes for individuals, to see program growth, and really hopefully just watch over the next few years this entire field level up in our response and take some of those same tactics to the traffickers and get some more people behind bars.
Anything else to add, Alia?
I think the only thing that I would add to that is like a lot of the time, a lot of our solutions in previous years, because we haven't had a lot of evidence-based or proven or innovative solutions, have lied on the shoulders of survivors. Need to advocate for what we needed to heal, to advocate for why we should be seen as somebody who's been victimized. A lot of our own investigations rely on the testimony and of survivors, and survivors being participants in sharing what happened to them and how this person used force, fraud, or coercion to victimize them. And a lot of what the solutions that we've been able to lean into are intended to do is to release that burden from the survivor themselves and put it back on the people who have the training and are equipped with the support to figure those things out in a new way. And so that's a lot of, without giving too much of what Brittany and I will talk about. If I am not the tech, I will tell you I'm not the tech person. I am the programming service provider person. But that's a lot of what the things that we're leaning on have been built off of and the intention behind them.
Yeah, well, that sounds like it's going to be a great session. I can't wait to hear more. And I think that Brittany, like you mentioned, the AI is really an important topic talking about right now. And I think that those sessions are going to be highly attended by our attendees because we want to learn more and it's just changing so fast. And we want to incorporate it into the work that we're doing to be able to keep up. So thanks for sharing. And so if any of you listening are wanting to hear more from Brittany and Alia about that session, make sure that you are registered on our website to attend the conference. So if you go to our website, which is traffickingconference.com/register, you are able to sign up. So I do want to highlight a couple of our other programming related presentations at the conference. I do want to remind you though that we do have over 110 breakout sessions at this year's conference. Alia briefly mentioned how she's trying to figure out which session she wants to attend. It is a lot of presentations, but it's really exciting because of that diversity and how many different topics we have that you can really pick and choose which topics fit your needs and with your profession or what you're interested in learning about. But good news is that our presentations are recorded. So people who have registered for the conference can watch those presentations for up to 3 weeks afterwards. So if there's something that you aren't able to attend live, or there's a couple sessions happening in the same breakout time you want to attend live, then you can watch those recordings afterwards. So we really do try to make it as accessible as possible so you can get that knowledge. But a couple of the ones that I want to highlight are Sarah Ray is going to be presenting on the Influenced program, empowering students to navigate dangers in their digital world. So again, talking about technology and AI. Then Jaden Kuchinka and Jacqueline Peace will be talking about Indigenous-led sexual exploitation prevention, lessons learned from piloting the Makwa Dotem program. So I'm really excited about that one, and I always love having Indigenous presenters speak about that topic. And then we have Liberty Sarkar and Amanda Pulley. They'll be discussing establishing evidence-based programming for both residential and community-based anti-trafficking programs. And then Dr. Anjanette Alhayano-Steele and Marla Sutherland will present Beyond the Count, community-led data sustaining anti-trafficking partnerships and response. So I think that those all sound like great presentations. We do have several other programming related presentations at the conference. So make sure you check out our schedule. We have our full schedule already up. You can look through all the presentations, read the descriptions, learn about the presenters. So if you go to our website, traffickingconference.com/schedule, you can see all of the presentations that we have on there. Okay, Brittany and Alia, we're about done, but is there anything else that you want to add before we finish up today?
Just register, come join the conversation, be part of it. It's a great way to just start off the rest of the year with, I think, really vital conversations that can help inform your 2026 roadmap programming and the way that you're thinking about scaling and improving your own organization.
Great. Thanks, Brittany.
Yeah, I think I would just say thank you, Anna, and your team for all of the work that you guys do, both in presenting the conference and everything else that you all do. I mean, we benefit from the Global Association of Human Trafficking Scholars Network that you all operate, and being able to have access to those things. And, you know, in the conversations around evidence-based practices, right, we find that to be such a resource. So thank you.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the work that you do and being a part of our efforts as well. So appreciate you both joining us today. And as mentioned, we do go live on Facebook and LinkedIn every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time to talk about our conference. We highlight different topics every week. So next week, we are going to have our special guest and founder of the conference, Dr. Celia Williamson, on with us to talk about our research presentations. So I hope that you join us next week. If you want to learn more about our conference, all of the great things that we talked about today, how to register, view the schedule, all that fun stuff, go to our website, traffickingconference.com. So thank you again for being here, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day and join us next time. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Anna.